Step 1, wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Yo. Set your affirmations, aspirations. I got shit to do, the aftermath of preparation. Good food, good mood, blood in circulation. One step at a time, yeah, that's how you make it. Set a goal you control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration. And if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 So life ain't easy, yo, I think there's a reason, though. Ups and downs, just like every different season, yo. Sometimes I'm high, other times I'm barely breathing, though. I always gotta fight and hide from the demons, yo. Negative thoughts are poison, they rot. Head full of flies, so here come the clouds. They'll never stop unless I can swap all the bad for the good in my head when I'm lost. Yeah, so I'ma fake it till I make it. Positive thoughts are overtaken, I got patience. One day at a time is how you operate a cadence. A flow, you grow, you show yourself a foundation. Stay away from all the shit that causes temptation. I know that I like to do it cause it's sensation. I live my life in my head like a narration. Don't expect greatness, do my best, man, I'll take it. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Wake up, really gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhorn Betty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.
Tom, it's just a tough subject. A recent study by Brown University showed that nearly 450 children are killed each year by their parents.
My daughters were picked up on a Friday by their father to spend the weekend, and that night he pumped carbon monoxide into their bedroom and slit their throats.
Justice have begun for 2 children killed by their mother in Hopkins County.
9-year-old Hayden King was laid to rest today. Hayden's 4-year-old sister Harper will have a celebration of life service tomorrow morning.
Here's a story that's breaking at 6 o'clock. It's all centered around the 3 people you see on your screen. The key pieces in a Middletown murder case.
On the left is James Hutchinson. Police say the 6-year-old was killed allegedly by his own mother.
East Los Angeles mother was charged today with killing her 3 young children. The youngest was less than 2 months old.
At 6 with breaking news.
Good evening to you, friends. Greg Merriweather along with Elizabeth Val. Our top story today, that precious little 2-year-old right now. 2 people are facing charges accused of murdering little Nevaeh Allen. Investigators found the 2-year-old dead in Mississippi after several days of searching.
One of those blamed in her death, the girl's mother, Lanaya Cardwell.
Not much I can do about the glasses. There's a glare. I know. I wish they had no glare glasses. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I have not found them. Good morning. I don't know how many of you guys were here for the morning show. We did a lot of conversations about Madeline Soto. Madeline Soto is also a child that disappeared from her home the morning of February 26th. And she has been found within 3 days, and her mother's boyfriend was arrested and thrown in jail on March 1st, which was like the 4th day. I think it was like, I don't remember how many hours it was, but they had him jailed very quickly after the disappearance of Madeline Soto. So if you guys hadn't had a chance to go over there and check that out, please consider going over there and checking it out. It's nice to see everybody this morning. Hard to believe I can stick 2 shows in before lunch, right? This one's probably going to go over a little bit for lunch. We're getting back to Sebastian Rogers. We're getting back to advocating for truth and transparency in his case. And we are back at looking at what happened the morning that he allegedly disappeared from his home. Good morning, Hen House, Southern Grammy. It's nice to see you and have you back. Medic Biker, it's nice to see you. Good morning, Kendra. Michelle, Melanie, Don, it's nice to see you. One Sock, good morning. Wendy, Diesel, it's nice to have you. Michelle, good morning, my love. Barb, it's nice to have you. I don't know if I said Rod or not, but good morning. Stacy, Stephanie, Beth B, it's nice to have you all here. VA, DA, DNA, good gracious, don't mind me. Kim, good morning. Jesus loves Brenda. So does the coffee club. Nice to see you. It's me, Jen. Great to have you here this morning, my love. Yes, I decided to do a produced live today. I'm not from my office. Aw, thank you, Michelle. If you received your gifted Bullhorn Betty membership, don't forget to tell Michelle, hey, and thank you. Gigi for life, Nicole, Mr. and Mrs. Car Guy are up in the house. It's nice to see you, loves. James, it's nice to have you here. Who else do we have? Sunset Gazing. Good morning. The Real Me Too is up in the house. Nice to see you. Jacqueline, it's nice to have you as well. Victoria, Ruby Reports. Good morning. Denise, YouTubers up in the house. Hey. Dawn, good morning. I think I said good morning this morning to you from the first show. Karen S., it's nice to see you, love. And everybody else that's up in the house, it's great to have you. OMG, Jen gifted 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships. If you received your one of the 5 Bullhorn Betty memberships, do not forget to tell it's me, Jen. Thank you. I see Bookworms in the house. D's Mystery Obsessed. Hello, BHB and Coffee Beans. Well, hello to you as well. Cinda, it's nice to see you. and everybody else. Good morning. Good morning. So, things always get a little crazy. We're used to it in every case. We're not quite used to the craziness of this case. This was one for the books, no doubt. But we're used to the craziness of these cases and the complications that social media does provide in these cases. Good morning, Gypsy. Nice to see you. Karen, Tracy, it's nice to see you. B. Betty, hey love. I hope you're doing well. And so this case in that sense is no different. So we're constantly having to go back to the beginning, make sure that we're not missing anything. And the last time we talked about this in depth, we were talking about the Miss Bobby interview. We kind of stopped that about halfway. And we're going to be touching a little bit on Miss Bobby's interview in this show, not first. So we have everything kind of set up right now. I wanted you guys to hear this. A lot of people didn't get a chance to go to the vigil. A lot of people may have watched the vigil that I posted. I did post segments of that vigil. I only did 3 segments. I did Shalon, the spiritual advisor. I did the Brad with the autism, whatever that autism foundation. I'm sorry, I can't remember what it's called. I have it. I remembered it, but for whatever reason, I just slipped my mind literally just this second. So I will think of it again and I'll put it out there. And then of course, Seth. And so those were the 3 people that spoke up there. I have some still photos and some videos of this stuff. People, just people gathering and, just really fellowshipping with one another out there. But a lot of people didn't realize Seth did have an interview, and one of those interviews were released, or segments of that interview was released. Thank you, Jacob's Audible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know why it slipped my mind. Literally, it's one of those things that happen when you're right when you're ready to spit it out. It goes poop, gone. And so Brad with Jacob's Audible, and then of course Seth. Well, after that, as you can imagine, it was pretty emotional. I'm sure if you guys saw it in person, you'd have been even more moved than you saw on the video. It was hard. I can tell you, I'm sitting there recording, and I'm glad the recorder's not on me and we're on them, because it was hard not to shed a tear. I mean, you feel the pain, you feel the hope that everybody's trying to provide, but you feel the pain that a father's going through missing his son for so long. And it was really showing. And I anticipate every month that passes, it gets, it's hard to hold those emotions in. His kid's missing. He needs his kid home. And, Sebastian hasn't been seen or heard from. So what do we do? Okay, well, we're going to go back to the beginning. Did he walk out of the house? And if he walked out of the house, which way did he go? Right? So we're going to be more focused on the path of travel than really anything else in this segment. The possibilities of ways this child could have walked out of the house, and where would he have walked by? Those things are, in my opinion, very important. If he left the house willingly or on foot somehow, then certainly we can figure out which ways he could have gone. When I visited the area, it didn't seem like there was that many ways out of that community. It didn't seem like, I mean, it is a community of communities. Like there's a few communities on that side of the road. It's in a central location. They have a fire department right down the road. It's an up and coming area. Not they're doing a lot of building, but not a lot of houses are really around there. We know that new construction site, which is bringing in a lot more homes, is being worked on and completed. We knew that when this child went missing. If anybody doesn't know, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers is about 5'5". He's been anywhere between 110 to 120 pounds, so he's taller and slenderer. He has sandy brown, light brown or dark brown, sandy blonde, dark blonde hair to a light brown hair and brown eyes. He has some black frame glasses that go around, more square, and he has a very endearing smile. And that's what we know of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. We know that his mom and dad have been divorced for a significant amount of time. Thank you, Gypsy. God bless you. Welcome to the insane asylum. Oh, good gracious. Good gracious. And you know, we know that it sounds like, based upon records that Seth has received, and it has not been has been a little vocal about, but not revealing, that there were trips from the Department of Children and Family Services to this home for the well-being of his son. That's what we kind of know. We know that there was a trip to the Roadhouse that was the proof of life video. Everybody's kind of dubbing it the proof of life video, from Nikki, oh, good gracious, Vinnie Politan to Jennifer. I'm not doing well today. To Jennifer Coffindaffer. So we have a lot of people that are dubbing this the proof of life video. And that really was the last time any third party saw Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. So I'm sitting here thinking, where could he have gone? If he walked out of the house, where could he have gone? Even though we saw the lights, we saw the unknown vehicle, it appears that it's possible that he was moved by a vehicle, whether willingly or unwillingly, because we don't know what happened. But that's not what's being stated. What's being stated is that this child got up between midnight and 6 a.m., walked out the front door without anything on his feet, without a jacket, without any toys, any food, any water, or any money, or any other thing, just himself and what he was wearing when he went to bed. Walks out of the house in, I believe it was 40-degree weather that night, and just locks the door behind him and disappears, and has never been seen or heard since. So taking that theory, and I know we've done this before, taking that theory that he walked out the door and has never been seen again, is it possible that there could be some cameras that picked him up? And were those cameras turned in a timely manner? Were they not recorded over? I don't know. But before we begin, let's just bring this up.
Going through hell when I go home. Stop there.
We are nearing the 9-month mark of when 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers was last seen in Hendersonville. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Lydia Fielder. The teen's disappearance sparked a nationwide search that now has included local and federal law enforcement as well as volunteers. Our Steve Mailing talked with Sebastian's dad tonight, who says he does not want his son to be forgotten.
I do not know the tears that you cry because your son is not standing next to you.
Nearly 9 months since Sebastian Rogers was last seen in Hendersonville. His father Seth says he's never given up looking for him.
I refuse to let my son be discarded like trash. I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm hurt. But that doesn't really matter because I don't know what my son's going through.
Rogers says the past 9 months have been anything but easy. His days left searching for answers, and when he returns home,
my house is very, very quiet because my son's not there. I just want my son found and brought home.
While Seth hasn't given up hope, he feels others have now treated his son's case as a lesser priority. Recently, Doug the Bounty Hunter joined the search for Sebastian, adding a significant reward of over $150,000.
They haven't come out and told anybody anything since April. And them actually speaking with me, they'd have to actually answer their phone.
But Seth hasn't given up hope, holding prayer vigils and awareness events like the one Saturday in Clarksville. He wants people to know his son's face, say his name, and help bring him home.
And if he is his son, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep looking for you until I find you. And if you see this, call me. You know my phone number. I won't change it. And I love you.
For WSMV4,
we will find the truth.
I'm Steve Mailing.
Okay. So there you have that. And then we're going to go over to Google Earth real quick, because this is Stafford Court and Kellen, and you can see, let me see if I can move this, and you can see the construction site over here. Now, according to Gray Hughes, I'm not a fan. I think he talks to people like garbage. But I do like his work in mapping, okay, and putting this stuff and making it visually aesthetic and understandable. I do like that. But as you see, this right here is the community. And even though this doesn't show it over here, there is a road that goes right from here into this community, and it will take you through the community and out right here. I don't know if you guys can see that, my cursor down here. So it can take you right out there. So that's one way to get out of this community here. And the only other way to get out of this community here is right from the main entrance here. So on his road is a cul-de-sac. There's no possibility of him, going that way without being picked up on cameras and stuff like that. But according to Gray Hughes, there was a specific path of travel. And we're going to listen to that right now.
Chris Proudfoot's story absolutely makes sense. Now, he also explained to me the route that the dog took when it had a scent. So I'll put that in here as well. So he said that out the front door, it scented Sebastian. And then the dog scented around the house like this. And then back over here where it came out, the dog came out on, I think it's called Kellen Lane. So it kind of came right in front of that same house that had the fixed light on it. And then he apparently walked this direction. And then right up here on Devon Court, took a right. And then went down this Parkenham Drive. Now, the thing is all this is way more developed at this point, because this is a year ago.
It is.
4/14/2023. And I think you could actually walk straight through like that. And apparently walked over here, and there's a retention pond.
There is a paved drive that goes in, a paved drive. It does get to where the pavement is missing, and it goes to like almost a dirt road, but it is a paved drive. And then right around this area right here is where it becomes pavement again. So you have pavement, you have kind of a dirt area, and then you kind of have pavement here. But on this back side, it still looks very much like a construction site. It's a little more developed than what you're seeing here, but it looks a lot like this. Okay, there's a few more houses in here, but for the most part, it looks a lot like this, just for everybody's knowledge. So that's one path forward. Let's just keep listening to what he has to say here.
Right here now. And apparently that's where the tracking stopped, and I guess it's not really that deep, that retention pond. So maybe he walked through it and the dog's lost his scent and he went somewhere else. Maybe he went up this direction. We don't really know, but law enforcement is apparently going to, in the fall, when the leaves are off, we're going to do another, deep dive search in the area, because at this point, the foliage is getting way too thick. Kind of reminds you of the Delphi case. The bridge area looks totally different. Also in the Summer Wells case, very similar. They had to do a search in the fall because...
I wonder if that's going to be the case, is that they do another, they probably don't want to do it in the fall because there's so much more, I guess this is fall. But I would think maybe in the colder months when the trees and shrubberies get down, maybe that would be a great idea to have another massive search in the area once the leaves are gone and you can see through it. But would that cause more leaves to cover up much needed information? I don't know. But definitely interesting when it comes to that particular situation, because when we go to Miss Bobby's interview, which I'm gonna have to, I'm probably gonna have to do something with this. I don't want to see that man's freaking face. Hold on a second. Let me fix this. There we go. There we go. Miss Bobby, so nice. And so we have Miss Bobby, and Miss Bobby, is the one that informed people of the confirmed and corroborated the unknown car that we know today, that we've seen in the video. We didn't know where those lights, we just seen lights come on, but we couldn't because the way the angle of the camera was, it was not doing itself any justice. The way the camera was is it leaned, I can't, you guys aren't seeing me, but it leaned this way, leaned the car this way. So you see lights come on, but you didn't know what they were. You didn't know where they were coming from. And then whenever she said it, I analyzed the photo and I realized I needed to straighten the photo. And sure as the day is long, as soon as I straightened the photo, you could clearly see the outline, the image of a vehicle. And I was absolutely shocked because I thought it was somebody from the construction site flipping on the lights and turning the light. I didn't know what these lights were. I figured maybe floodlights. Maybe somebody had walked in front of floodlights. Maybe they were and it wasn't that. It was truly a vehicle outside the home of this missing boy, not in front of his home, but in walking distance of his home. And what was even more alarming is that there are two light specks that appear to be moving through this common area over to that vehicle. So is the vehicle what the dogs are tracking, or is this something unrelated to this case altogether? A lot of people says it's highly improbable for it not to be linked or related. I've talked to many people. I've talked to my local law enforcement people off duty. And I've talked to a lot of people to get some assessments on this from a legal standpoint, from a law enforcement standpoint, to have knowledge of what the process is. And I can do that with other officers not associated with the case by showing them what we have in our my arsenal, so to speak, my file folder, I guess is more in line with what I'm trying to convey, but it's a digital file folder, right? I very rarely keep paper stuff except the intake paperwork for each case I do. And that just gives me a preliminary idea of who's what, when, where. And, other than that, nothing I keep on these cases is really paper. The last time I think we printed a mess of paper was with the Brian Koberger case. And that's because there was so much documents. I needed to read them. I needed to understand them. I needed to research. I needed something I could highlight very quickly as I'm reading it, So that's kind of what, that was the last time we really printed anything for this. So I'm looking at these drawings, and I know at one point somebody made this photo that showed all these paths and different colors of this, that, and the other. And when we break it down, we know that Sebastian is autistic. We know that he doesn't like bugs or dirt or grass. He would have been barefoot. So it seems to me, based on his proclivities, based on his behaviors, that it would be very difficult for us to see him walking through mountainous or forest type of terrain. It seems to me, because of his absolute need for cleanliness, I guess, not wanting dirt on his feet, I would think that his path would be sidewalks and roadways. I mean, just me thinking off the top of my head from everything that I know, that I have learned through this case about autism, autistic children, autistic adults, behaviors, and things of that nature. So it seems to me that he would be taking a path that had a road or a sidewalk on it. And when we look at what Gray Hughes has outside of the common area spot, let's see if I can go back to it. Okay, let me put that up. Out of the common area spot, it seems like pretty much he stayed. If this was the scent for Sebastian, it seems like this would have stayed on the roadways, which would bode with how his demeanor. Yeah, it was freezing in February. That's a problem that I have as well. So I mean, I get it. I absolutely get it. Who wrote that? Skip to my Lou. I mean, we all kind of have the same thoughts and feelings about that as well. But so you see that he did stay, according to this, if this was their past. See, what's making me put that disclaimer on it is because law enforcement came out and said the scent was a false positive, so to speak. I don't know what words they used. I'll have to find the um, uh, it wasn't a press conference. I think it was just, he was walking and had an interview. It might have been one of the press conferences, one of the two press conferences that they provided in this case. But we learned that this was a false positive, so to speak, which is wild because a dog jumped into a retaining pond, which was ultimately drained and nothing was there. So it's making me put that disclaimer on it if this is the trail that was Sebastian's. We don't know whose trail that dog picked up, but it seemed like whatever the dog did pick up was a very strong scent for a dog to dive into, a body of water that the handler didn't expect and it has never witnessed his dog do in the past. So there's a lot of oddities with this. But either way, it does look like, I mean, I would assume that he would naturally go down the driveway onto the roadway and then walk the roadway versus walking from the front door through the grass, through the common area, and then to the road. I don't recall anybody saying anything about him actually playing out in the common area or in the yard in prior interviews or anything like that. So I'm unsure. Is it possible? I don't know. Everything I've learned, I would say barefoot, most likely not. If he had shoes on, I would say that'd give it a higher probability, but he didn't. But being on the road, going toward the construction, I could see that because, again, he doesn't like dirt, doesn't like bugs, doesn't like dirt between his feet, his toes, because it reminds him of being, eaten up by ants when he was younger, which is why he has the propensity of putting on his socks and shoes. So this is pretty interesting. And then I wanted to get back to where we were with the Miss Bobby interview. And Miss Bobby is a neighbor that lives in that community and was able to provide, was it BHB, I think? Sorry, guys, I don't watch my comments very often. BHB, I think one of those flashlights was SAB walking out. Yeah, but there's got to be, the only thing I get with this American Girly is that there would be a digital footprint. You can't do something like that without a digital footprint. And that's the one thing that this family really doesn't have a whole lot of related to, and it's a hard stretch. There's nothing really leaning to the HT or ST type of possibility. I mean, it's a possibility, but a probability rather. And it's because these things you'd see probably a little more of all of the possible trafficked ones. You would think that they would be one where it's easier to get to, and you have to know. I mean, it's not like normal people know where to go and sell their kids. I mean, it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. Do I believe that there is? We definitely know there's an HT and ST issue in the United States, without a doubt. I think it's personally not being reported as it should be. I think the numbers are lower than they really are. I know that there are problems, especially here in my state, being Florida, being so close to Cuba, being close to coyotes that traffic in Cubans, and others. So I know that there is a problem. Would this one be one that meets all of it's hard. That's the problem. But I get your point. I do get your point. It is still a possibility. Anything's on the table at this moment. But I don't know. It seems this child was too sheltered. Maybe in another case, it would probably be more of a reality. But in this particular case, this child, in my opinion, was entirely too um, isolated is the word I'm looking for. Isolated. So let's get to see what Miss Bobby has to
The
say.
rules and regulations. If your trash is not by the code,
let's go back just a little bit.
Facing the entrance, somewhere around 3:30 or so.
Okay, here it is.
And
Here
then,
it is. Sorry, I didn't back up far enough. Sorry, guys.
So going back to the whole light thing, I was told that there was an unidentified car sitting on my street facing.
This is exactly why I went back and looked at the photos that I had, the images that I had from the camera, that night camera view. And that's when I found it, because I didn't know what I was looking at with the lights until Miss Bobby made these statements. And that's when I went back and really looked at the lights video. And that's when I saw it. And I I straightened up the photo, and sure as enough, it's a car. Right there in the view of the camera.
The entrance, somewhere around 3:30 or so. And then the flashlights were actually seen on the neighbor's camera, 2 separate flashlights walking in between the yards, which the trash truck does not do. They don't need to. All of the trash is at the curb. They have never, ever gone. Matter of fact, when you sign up for services, they tell you in the email their rules and regulations. If your trash is not by the curb, they don't take it. Unless, you're an elderly person, you ask them. If your trash is like in the front of your house and you ask them, they'll come and get it like that, but they won't come around the back or in between houses. That's bull monarchy. That is not how that works.
No trash. You don't believe those 3:10 a.m. lights were around 3:10 after 3 a.m. were trash truck lights.
Not only do I not believe it, but the neighbor that has the actual footage swore up and down that there are 2 different circumstances. There was the car with the lights coming towards the car backed up on Kellen and left. And then about 2-ish hours, hour and a half, hour 42 something, they're like she said, the time stamp on the video is not working. It is stuck. She said, but you can tell because it's pitch black dark in the middle of the night when the car comes down the street, turns onto Stafford, sits there for about 3 to 5 minutes. The flashlights are coming from 2 different directions in between the yards. They do whatever they're doing.
Doesn't that sound like, I'm going to back up just a little bit so we can rehear that, but doesn't that sound like if the car pulled up for 3 to 5 minutes and the lights come to the car, that maybe somebody was in the car? Because nobody ever talked about anybody getting out of the car. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. It's weird. Listen to how she says it. Let me just back up. I think I backed up maybe 30 seconds.
She said, but you can tell because it's pitch black dark in the middle of the night when the car comes down the street, turns onto Stafford, sits there for about 3 to 5 minutes. The flashlights are coming from 2 different directions in between the yards. They do whatever they're doing around the car. The car backs up Kellen and leaves from Stafford. I'm sorry, backs up.
They do whatever they're doing around the car as well. That is something that I just picked up on. I don't know why I didn't garner that earlier. Let's listen to that again.
Comes down the street, turns onto Stafford, sits there for about 3 to 5 minutes. The flashlights are coming from 2 different directions in between the yards. They do whatever they're doing around the car. The car backs up Kellen and leaves from Stafford. I'm sorry, backs up Kellen and leaves. And then 2 or so hours later, as the sun is just beginning to come up, you can see the trash truck. And she said, but the trash truck goes past her driveway. She said, you can see the trash truck and the lights and the back of the truck go past her driveway, go up the hill, do its business, turn around, come back down. And then within a few minutes later, the sun is coming up. And then you can see Katie's car leave, Katie's car coming back. And then you can see all the police come in. She said, it's very obvious. So I asked her why the police are saying that that's trash truck. And she said, I don't know. I'm baffled. Because I tell you right now, there are 2 different circumstances, and that you can tell there are 2 different time frames.
Wow. Because
so that brings me back to, is this willing? is this willingly? Whose car was that? Is that like law enforcement, or I shouldn't say law enforcement, they're local news that speaks on behalf of law enforcement without putting them on camera, stated that they believe it was an Uber driver. And many of us say, what Uber driver parks down the road and sits? I mean, they have little, directions to take you right to the house. I mean, I've never seen an Uber driver sitting on the side of the road before. I mean, I just never did. And if it was the Uber driver, why did they turn around and leave the community without picking up their person? So that leads me to believe that there was a vehicle there. The light sources came from near or around the home of a missing child. And it comes back to this child walk out. Let's look at, actually, I can't do that on there. Let me see if I can do it on here. Why do I have this in cap lock? Sorry, guys, give me a second. What was the weather? I know people have done this on 2/26/24 in Hendersonville, Tennessee at 3 a.m. Let's see. I don't know if this is going to tell me or not. I'm just trying to find out. At 3 a.m., and that's 3 p.m., 3 a.m. Around 3 a.m. Well, it was a lot. According to this, which is wonderground.com, it says at 3 a.m. it was 62 degrees. And I am pretty sure that, and they say the lowest on here was 57. So it appeared, and the dew point, that's what it was. The dew point was 43. And I don't see what the feel like was. I don't know if they have it on here. But either way, it was still pretty cold. Now, I don't know, because some people had pulled this closer to the event, closer to the time of this when this child disappeared, and it was showing like 43 degrees. So I don't know. I know we had screen captured that in a prior video, but would like to know with specificity what the temperature was. 60 degrees is still pretty darn cold for somebody from Florida. But somebody in, say, Tennessee that's accustomed to having 30 and 40 degree weather, it might be comfortable for them. So we have to still way too cold for bare feet, Lisa B always says. That might be possible. But I need to find those the stuff we were looking at the beginning. But it was still a bitterly cold for somebody to be out without shoes. And if it had a dew point, you're talking about moisture on their feet, some coldness, wetness. I don't know. I'm still up in the air with the whole feet thing. People say that this child would leave the house without shoes. There's no, I mean, you've got a story of this child. His father told about a hurricane or some kind of natural disaster. I can't remember which coming. And he got in his rain suit and his rain boots. I mean, he seemed like he had a propensity to always want socks and shoes on his feet, socks and boots, socks and some type of foot covering on his feet, according to his father. So let's get back to this. Sorry, Delilah's doing her little circle thing right now. Better get adjusted. You don't look comfortable. Are you comfortable? You really don't look comfortable. Okay. I guess she's comfortable.
Because we've heard from Seth Rogers, and Seth is adamant that he was told, or he's seen,
That's because LE has told him that.
What's up with that?
Because LE has told him that. Law enforcement has told him that.
Why?
That's the question I asked when I called. I got a kind of a, I think all of us are just super frustrated as this continues to go on, that we don't understand what's happened. We don't know what's happened. You know, we've all been involved in trying to find him day one. We've spread it. We've shared it on social media. You know, a lot of us were out with law enforcement the first week or so, you know, looking for him and stuff. I mean, you know, this shook us up to the core. It flipped our neighborhood upside down and just shook us up. I mean, nobody left their house for 2 weeks. Even the families who walk their dogs every single day, we didn't see them for 2 weeks.
Why?
So,
why?
yeah, I mean, we didn't know what was going on. We had no idea what happened. I mean, when you have a 15-year-old kid that just vanishes in thin air, nobody wants to leave. We're scared. And then, of course, you see Chris, you know, getting upset through all these YouTube videos. And if you know your neighbor is that upset and threatening people and saying the things he's saying, you're not going to go be a part of that. You're going to stay in your little cocoon and stay away from them. And I mean, lock your doors and be by yourself and protect yourself and just stay away from it.
It sounds like they're nervous. I mean, listen to what she's saying. I mean, they're concerned for their safety, it sounds like. I mean, I don't know, but that's what she seems to be putting in a nice way.
Threatening people and saying the things he's saying, you're not going to go be a part of that. You're going to stay in your little cocoon and stay away from them. And I mean, lock your doors and be by yourself and protect yourself and just stay away from it.
You've never seen Sebastian Rogers in the neighborhood or walking around or anything prior to that day? Nothing.
From what I understand from neighbors that live right close to him, the only time they ever saw him come out was when he was playing with the dogs. The dogs would get out and, you know, he'd be out there for a little while, but nobody ever really knew him.
Nobody knew any of them.
He never came out to play with neighborhood kids. You never saw him out riding his bike. I mean, now I'll tell you this. I mean, we have neighbors that go out, like I said, and walk their dogs every single day, sometimes even twice a day. You have kids that will go out and play basketball. We have a basketball goal in one of the cul-de-sacs. Kids will come up and play basketball in the basketball goal. They'll walk, you know, ride their bike. We have a one kid that has a four-wheeler and a dirt bike, and he rides around, that kind of thing. Didn't even know Sebastian existed. Never played with anybody.
No friends, nothing.
Never had any friends over their house.
How long was, because I heard that Seth was there for a few days staying with the Proudfoots. Did you hear that?
I did. True? Well, I saw his, I didn't know he was staying in their house, but I saw his truck there every single day for, when I heard that he had stayed in their house for 3 days, I was shocked. I didn't realize he had actually stayed in the house and then they said 3 days. I'm like, well, that's odd because his truck was parked on the curb of the street for about a week. But I didn't know he was actually there because he was out searching. Like he was actually at the command center for the first week every day, all day long. Seth was.
Not Chris and Katie. Chris and Katie?
Oh, no. They never left their house.
So once again, Seth is there. He's wanting to know where his son is. He's wanting to search for his son. You know, nothing is ever enough until you bring your child home and you bring your child home safely. And, you know, we even heard he got kicked out of the command center for peeking under the hood, you know, trying to see where they've searched. So
never went with any flyers, go to door, you know, to speak with neighbors, ask them if they've seen anything, nothing.
No.
Wow.
Nope.
That is so Miss Bobby. So do you go ahead.
I was just gonna say the only thing that they even put on Facebook was that one post.
Which eventually got deleted.
Theirs didn't. The original neighbor that was asking, hey, what's all the commotion on Stafford? That person deleted their post.
Gotcha.
Katie's is still up there.
Were the Bowersox around at all during that week? Yeah, I know you said that they were there that morning. Did they look around? Did they look around?
No, we never saw anybody. None of them ever looked in our neighborhood where I'm at. I never seen any of them walking around at all, period, ever. Seth, Chris, Katie, Bowersox, none of them ever. I never even met them. I had one.
That's weird. Then nobody searched that. I mean, the cops searched that neighborhood thoroughly, but I find that weird. It seems like everybody knew he wasn't there. Huh. Like none of the family searched the neighborhood. It's weird.
Encounter with Chris one night, and after, I mean, I never saw him, never met him, nothing.
The Chris encounter, you mind sharing? I think we talked about this offline a little bit.
Yes, I'll okay.
She was very hesitant to tell the story, but she ends up telling the story.
So I'll kind of share a little bit of that. This was the, gosh, what day was it? Thursday, I think it was. I think it was Thursday. That Thursday night. Now, mind you, our neighborhood is on pins and needles. Don't know what happened to this kid. Don't understand. Law enforcement's, coming up and around. We've got every department that I didn't even know existed. Like I said, I didn't even know we had a SWAT team. I didn't know we had, drone footage. I didn't know we had any of this stuff. I mean, we're, a small county. I had no idea. Not a small county, but you know what I mean? Like, we're away from like the big crowd, the city. Never had any issues. So I didn't even know that any of this stuff has existed. So we were all kind of on pins and needles. And so anything weird, let me go back a little bit and say the night before this is the reason why this happened. The night before this, I had went to work that night, I think. I did something. I wasn't home for some reason. My son was on our back deck. Now our back deck faces the construction. The top, the back of the construction. And so he was on the back deck talking to somebody, and he looks out and he says, well, that's really weird. And she said, what? And he said, look at the light out there. And there was a flashlight. It was kind of a dim flashlight, but you could see it because it's pitch black dark. And he said, why is there a flashlight over there? It was one single flashlight, and it was like walking in the back, kind of over in the back of the woods area. And it like walked around, stopped, walked around a little bit, stopped, and then just disappeared in the back of the woods. And so he called me and he's like, what do I do? And I said, you need to call law enforcement. Like, call the number. We had a flyer, one of those flyers. And I was like, you need to call the TBI and tell them and figure out what to do with that. He did. And nothing. No phone call back. No, nothing. Just, okay, thanks for the letter. I'm like, okay, that's awfully weird. I mean, you would think that they would come check that out or call you back and ask you.
Yeah, follow-ups.
Nothing. No, they didn't even call him back to ask him, like, exactly where are you? What did you see? Nothing. Nobody ever followed up or nothing. And so he was like, that's really weird. And I was like, yeah, that is weird. I mean, with a missing kid, you would think they would be coming flying up here to figure out who that was. So it was the following night. So now, of course, we're all like, even more in pins and needles. Like, is people just going to just start walking around our neighborhood in the middle of the night like they're pitch black dark in the night? And so he was coming home. We were all at home and still looking around and talking to neighbors and figuring out like what the heck is going on. And he comes home.
Sorry, I hit the button on that.
Walks in the door and is like, Mom, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, now what? And he said, there's two people, a real tall, skinny guy and a real small, it looks like a girl maybe, that is walking up our street. Now we do have family.
Tall, skinny guy and a woman walking up the street. I don't know. It sounds like this was in, I don't know what you want to call her, chlamydia's stuff.
That will come out and walk their dogs at night before they go to bed. But they had no dog with them, no nothing. And the strangest part about this was this guy was wearing dark, black, wide, like ski goggles. You've been in my neighborhood. You can't see your hand in front of your face. It is so dark at night. It was 9 o'clock at night. Why is somebody walking with these big black goggles? How can they even see? Well, with everything going on, I'm thinking, okay, that's very suspicious. I got to check on that. Yes, I could have called law enforcement, and that's what was said. You should have called law enforcement. However, I didn't want to call law enforcement on my own neighbor. If it was a neighbor out walking around, I didn't want to be rude and call law enforcement on my neighbor. So I told my son, I said, you know what? Let's go. He's got a Jeep that's got a bunch of lights on it. And I said, let's drive down there and turn your lights on and see if you can see somebody out there walking. I said, I'll call law enforcement and let them know what we're seeing, and then we'll just turn around and go back home. I wasn't going to follow them. I just wanted to see if I could find them. So we're driving down my road. We turn up Stafford because we couldn't find them. Like, well, maybe they went up Stafford. We went up Stafford. Now my son's Jeep is loud. And so but I didn't even think about it. I was more focused on who this person was. So he drives up Stafford and he says to me, hey, while we're up here, where's Sebastian's house? And I'm like, oh, we just passed it. So he turns around and goes back down, and we're going slowly because I was trying to point out Sebastian's house. And so I pointed it out, and he's like, oh, okay. And so we drive back around, and we're driving back down to the other side of the neighborhood, there's another cul-de-sac. And he said, wait a minute. Didn't you say that this other neighbor has a Ring camera? And I said, yes. And she's the one that saw the silhouette in the window and the lights in the house go on and off and whatever. She's like, but that doesn't make any sense, because if that house is located here, how can she have seen over here? And I'm like, okay, go back up the street and I'll show you. So we went back up the street to show him where that house was versus this and all the whole thing. And as we were coming back up, we kind of stopped. Now, this is my neighborhood. I'm not a suspicious person. This is my neighborhood. I should be able to do whatever I want to, right? So I stop, or he stops a little bit. I'm pointing at our houses out, and we drive out. And I said, Sean, I said, honey, we got to go home. And he's like, why? And I said, because somebody's standing at their front door. He was like, oh, crap. And so, and I did not, God honest truth, I never meant to upset anybody. It was truly just me trying to figure out what's going on. Never meant to upset anybody. Turn around, Stafford. I'm coming back down, and Chris is now, mind you, I've never met this man, never seen him before. I wouldn't even know who he is. Matter of fact, I thought he was law enforcement. Stands in the middle of the street and puts his hand out and stops just like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. And I'm thinking it's law enforcement. I'm like, oh crap, we're about to get in trouble because they're going to think that we're looking for this kid or something. So roll down the window, and he comes around and he stands there just like this, just like, what are you doing out here? And I'm like, holy crap. I said, I'm so sorry. We were looking for, and I told him what happened and told him the whole story. And he was like, why wouldn't you just call law enforcement? I said, because I don't want to call law enforcement on a neighbor. If they're out walking around, that's kind of rude. And he's like, well, you have no business driving around here, and started telling me in a very intimidating, very strong voice, I guess you would say, big, tough, he's a big guy, kind of thing. That my son is missing, and they've got police all around here looking. I said, yeah, no kidding. I know, I'm aware. I've been talking to him. Trust me, I know, I get it. And then he said, there's a police, the heat sensor mobile unit things. You know what I'm talking about? That can detect heat sensor and stuff. Well, they had one of those up in the top, hoping that if he came home, it would alert law enforcement that there was somebody walking around. Which I don't get that, because you've got families that are walking dogs anyway. So I was like, I'm so sorry. I kept apologizing to him, and he got really upset and, kind of said some things, and I was trying to calm him down, and I apologized. And my son's girlfriend was in the back, and she thought that if she rolled the window down and said, I am such and such, and I go to your son's school, that he would calm down. Even though I said, hey, I'm your neighbor. I live up there. Everything's fine. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. I thought even me telling him I was his neighbor would calm him down. It's like he just glossed right over that. He didn't care. So she says, I'm such and such, and I go to school with your son. And he stops mid-sentence to me and said, oh, and got like stopped, looked at her, your name? And she said, yes, sir. Like, how do you know? She only gave him her first name, and he said the whole thing. And she was like, how do you know my name? And I was like, what the crap? I looked at my son. I said, we need to go. we just need to go. We just need to go. And I'm like, I'm going to call the police because this is getting, I don't know. I don't understand. I wish you could have, I can't describe his body language was just very
It
stern.
wasn't like for that people were out there looking for his son or thing. It was more like trying to stop.
Get off my street. Get off my street. Get out of here. Get off my street. Go home. Leave me alone. Get away from us. But he told her that, so you're the girl that runs this Facebook group and this, that, and the other. I'm going to demand you take that off. You get your phone. And he said, where are your parents? And she said, at my house. And he said, well, I'm going to find out where you live and I'm going to come knock on their door and we're going to have a conversation. And she said, okay, good luck with that. And I was like, you know what? Look, we don't want to, cause any issues and whatever. I try to give him grace. Don't know the man from nowhere. And I just kept saying, he's upset. His son's missing. He's really upset. He's very defensive. Maybe that's just all that what it was. Now that I've seen some of his YouTube videos, and I'm like, yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know the back end of those details. I know we talked before offline a little bit. You said, kind of like a confrontation kind of deal. It confronted you guys, but I didn't know those like back end details that you shared. Somebody in the chat, Smiley's World, was asking, prior to the February 26th, right, when Chris arrived home, did any neighbors or anyone that you heard, whether you see it, but you said you never knew him prior, did anyone ever say anything about him being around the house on the 25th, the 24th, or seen in the neighborhood or anywhere in the area prior to the 20th?
Nobody's ever really mentioned him. The only person that's ever said anything about him coming home, like I said, nobody really ever paid attention, I don't think, because even the neighbor that lives close by that I'm friends with, I asked her, like, did you ever see? She said, I never really paid attention because, like, he would come and go and they never were out really, and they had this camper and the camper would leave and then it would come back. And then, he never came outside. And it's odd because Chris kept saying that he would go outside and play and, all that kind of stuff. And she's like, I don't remember ever seeing him really outside playing. Like, there's no playground. They don't have a playground outside. They don't have a trampoline outside. Like, if you looked at their yard, you wouldn't even know there's no bike. There's no, like, scooters. There's no basketballs. You wouldn't even know they have kids. There's nothing in their yard to play with. He's never outside. Like, he didn't go outside and play catch with his dad. Nothing.
Interesting. Now, as you said, it's black in the neighborhood. Do you buy it where they're claiming that this kid walked out the front door and kind of did that neighborhood?
Because everybody around the camera.
Would a kid go out at night and walk around out there at night alone?
I don't think so. I mean, unless their parents didn't. Now, we did have a ding dong ditch happen a couple years ago, but no. I mean, I've never experienced kids just randomly walking around the neighborhood. That's the thing about our neighborhood is it's so quiet. Like at night, literally, like in the summertime when my kids were younger. Sorry, my car shut off for me for something. My kids were younger. They would go outside and play like flashlight tag and stuff like that. And I had to get on to them like, okay, 10 o'clock, y'all need to be done because everybody's got to go to bed and whatever. Nobody ever gets like, you don't ever just see random kids walking around by themselves. I don't buy that at all. And I know that neighbors that are right around them said that there was nothing on their cameras.
Nothing. No evidence whatsoever for that morning. No. And not even the 25th, the night of the 25th. Wow. Do you think law enforcement...
He just vanished. He literally just vanished.
What's your theory? What do you think? What do you think happened? What's your theory? Based off you being a neighbor, based off you speaking to other neighbors, you're very close to the area, you've seen law enforcement over there. What do you think happened?
I'd be very careful with that one. I know there were some family issues, like there were some personal stuff going on within the family between Katie and Chris. Seth told us, that he was supposed to get full custody. One minute he says that Katie was okay with it. The next minute I'm hearing that Katie was not okay with it. I don't know their personal story. I know that neighbors are close by them heard fighting within their family outside, verbal things that were said outside. So I don't know that it was, I think there were some struggles within the family. I mean, every family has issues. I get that, but I don't know families typically would get into that kind of a dispute outside. I mean, if I was going to have a conflict of interest between my kids and I, or my husband and I, we would be inside. I would be outside making that known. And apparently there were some situations where things were heard that weren't good.
Bobby, when did those fights occur? Do you know?
Over the past, I guess since they've been there, like periodically. It wasn't like a one-time thing. There were other, times where things were said and that kind of thing. I don't live close enough to them to have heard that. I mean, they would have to have screamed at each other for me to have heard that. I didn't hear it, but
So we have an idea of location. It sounds like just off this interview, Miss Bobby lived somewhere on Kellen, and obviously this is on a different road. So there were things that she knows that the neighbors have confided in her, but it seems like she's tiptoeing around a lot of information. I personally believe that some of that information is already kind of gotten, to the surface a little bit, especially with the Department of Children and Family Services being involved. That was released on Smiley's World interview with the stepfather, and where all the outrage about the belt incident came from. So I think that's what she was trying not to really say, but I don't know. That's just my opinion and assumption on that, because she was very careful in how she answered that question.
I know that neighbors around them have reported hearing things that were said outside, and it wasn't like a one-time thing.
Any cops ever get called?
Well, I mean, CPS was called multiple times, and I know teachers personally that still work at Beach that were told things and they had to report it. I mean, when a teacher is told, counselors and teachers are told things, they by law have to report it. And I know that absolutely. And I know that, kids can be over exaggerating. I know that, especially teenagers, that kind of thing. I think for me, I think my kids would be respectful enough with us that if something happened, I don't think they would go and say, like, my mom is mean to me. Like, they know that's not true, and they would get in trouble for lying. So for him to make up things that he was saying, I can't imagine him making certain things that were set up enough for CPS to be called on them. And I know they were called multiple times.
Multiple times. So when you say multiple, how many times?
I have no idea. I'm not privy to that information.
Has any neighbors or anybody tell you that they've seen the CPS at their house? Like,
I don't know. They have not actually used the words "I've seen them at the house," but they've told me that there have been people that have visited an official. Like, I don't know. Like, the car that comes is not going to have CPS written on it. Yeah. I mean, it may have a government official, like, license plate or something like that. And they're not going to have they're going to have a badge on them as they go to the front door, but it's not going to be something that a neighbor is going to see. That kind of thing. So I don't know, like, neighbors haven't said, like, I have seen this happen, because they were really paying attention. I don't think it was one of those things where I don't think neighbors, like, after this has happened, some of the neighbors are going back and saying, wait a minute, I remember this, and I do remember that, and I do remember this, and oh wow, this is like all connected. But when it happens over a year period of time and it's just random, but then nothing really ever comes of it, you just kind of try to stay in your own lane and mind your own business, because you're not hearing, like, I don't know that neighbors heard screaming, or like, I don't know that it was like the things that were being said outside were loud enough to make neighbors call. I don't think it was that kind of like, if a neighbor next to me, I heard a kid screaming, help me, don't, whatever, I would be calling the police. Like, okay, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to call the police and be anonymous. It wasn't that kind of a thing. It was things that were said and arguments between them that made neighbors think, gosh,
But when you say that, are we talking Chris and Katie, or is Seth in the picture too? Is it like, were there arguments with Seth there?
I don't think Seth was ever there long enough. I think he was there long enough to pick Sebastian up for his weekend, or they would meet somewhere for his weekend or something like that. I don't think that Seth was ever there. I think it was mostly, the one neighbor told me that she heard, and I'm not going to go into a lot of whole big detail because I don't want to get into their whole personal life. It's not my place. But a neighbor had told me that there were things that were said between, like, Chris and Katie would get into an argument, like in the driveway, and then Sebastian might come outside and Chris would raise his voice at him, either get inside or what are you doing out here, or make comments to him like that. And like I said, it wasn't like, I'm going to kill you or I'm going to beat your butt. It wasn't like such a horrible thing to make a neighbor call 911. It was just a very abrasive enough to, now that he's missing, they go back and think, oh,
So that's kind of like, that was kind of what you were saying when the neighbors kind of put these pieces together after the fact.
Right. It's one of those things that you go back and look and think, oh, okay, so maybe there was something to that. I just didn't realize it.
Have you ever heard anything about the mattress in the garage?
I have, and I have not been able to confirm that. I did hear that, and the neighbor next to them, when the garage door would come up for her to leave, they saw a mattress in the garage. And well, I mean, Chris admitted that there was a mattress in there. Now, he said it was for his daughter, so maybe, but why is it still in there? I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, they said on Nancy Grace that they got a new bed set after Sebastian was missing. But then people are also that the punishment. I'm talking about
too.
The punishment aspect about Sebastian sleeping in the garage for punishment. Have you heard that?
I did hear that, but I can't confirm it because I have not talked to the neighbors that live next to them that were the ones that said that. I don't know for a fact they said that, but my thing is, and again, I'm not trying to put anything blame on them at all because I don't know them, don't know anything about their personal story, have no idea. I can't confirm any of this, but I just know that I'm surprised that the mattress has been in the garage that long. I mean, if the mattress was for your child.
I have to be honest with you, the mattress thing doesn't bother me because, I can't remember countless times of an extra mattress being in our garage. It was just, failing to throw it away or, whatever the case may be. But I mean, I don't know. I guess it's because I've always had a bed somewhere in the garage. I ended up taking one of them for one of my apartments, So, I mean, it's just that the whole mattress thing was never a huge deal for me. I know it was for several people, but seeing a mattress in a garage is not like earth shattering. I've seen it before. Nothing like that happened at my house, and I know we had mattresses in the garage. I mean, a lot of it, my dad had, there was explanations for it, such as my dad was he owned rental properties that he rented furnished. And so it's just, certain things, and he ended up getting a shed there or whatever. But there's just there's people do have reasons for, I mean, it just wasn't a big deal to me. I never really quite understood it, but maybe somebody can explain it.
Child, wouldn't it have been put away or put in the, I mean, why is it still in the garage and not in the child's bedroom? And two, the daughter, Faith, I don't ever remember her being there. Like, if she was there, I mean, maybe one summer. I mean, I'm just surprised that she would have a brand new mattress if she's not there very much. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she didn't even have a mattress, and that's the first one.
You spoke earlier about a silhouette and a light inside.
Oh, yeah.
The Talk a little bit about that, because some people were asking that in the chat. What's that all about?
Okay,
This is
so
interesting.
if I go back to day one and kind of rehash a little bit, trying to make this as short as possible, the neighbor close by that saw Katie out front on the way to taking her kids to school, she was the one that called me. Friends, I'm good friends with her. She's the one that actually called me and told me what was going on. And said that I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, I went and asked Katie what happened. And she said, and this is where the story gets totally
Listen,
misconstrued. I
guys.
don't know. Again, third party.
This would have been the first time a third party had heard the story prior to, in all fairness, Dutch's interview, these people were neighbors. They weren't interviewing her. They were just asking questions. So, and this is not her account of it. I want to be clear on that as well. This is her account of what her neighbor told her. So just understand, not everything is 100. This is from these people's perspective, and she was just trying to fill in some of the blanks for the people. My understanding. I personally think Miss Bobby was just trying to help, and I do appreciate her help. Some people probably didn't treat her so kind or fair, but I was very appreciative that she came forward and gave us an insight that we didn't have.
I'm hearing this from another third party source. So, I trust this lady. She's a good friend of mine. There's no reason why she would lie. But she said when Katie, they had got home from Texas Roadhouse, took the trash out, so on and so forth. Sebastian was in his room. She was in the kitchen, I guess, getting, whatever done. And from her house, she's close enough to where she can see from the Ring camera, like the lights inside, because it's dark. So, I mean, if you have lights on, you can see it. And so she said that she could see the lights in the house around 10 or so. Then Katie told her that Sebastian was in his room. She was in the kitchen. She said, you need to go to bed. And he said, okay. And she goes in the living room and does whatever, watches TV. She says she was studying. I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. She was in the living room for whatever reason. And she told my neighbor that she fell asleep and
Say that again. You broke up. Say it again. You broke up.
This thunk, and she yelled across the house and said, Sebastian. And he said, yes, Mom. And she said, are you okay? He said, yes, I'm fine. I'm good. Go to bed. And she said, okay. So she gets up, and my neighbor said you can actually see his light go off, her walking across the house, her light go off, and then a silhouette come up to the window for a minute. And then everything just goes black.
What time was that again? Because you cut out.
I'm sorry. I know my son was calling me. Okay, so she woke up around 11:30 is what she told my neighbor, that she woke up about 11:30, and apparently he was still up. But I find it odd, because my thought is, and again, none of my business, I just think, okay, put yourself in that position. If I have a child who's got special needs and I hear a thump, I'm going to walk into my child. No, let me put it this way. My kids are all very healthy and normal. I'm very blessed to have very healthy kids. But if it's 11 o'clock or 11:30 at night and my kid has to be up at 6 the next morning, I'm going to be in their room yelling at them and taking their electronics away and telling them, go to bed now. That I would be walking in my kid's room. Even where my kids are now, healthy and average children, whatever, no problems. If I heard a thunk, I'm probably still going to go in their room and ask, like, what in the world was that? I wouldn't just stay. But, hey, maybe she trusts him. Maybe she thought it was no big deal. I don't know, whatever. But that's what she told my neighbor. And then she goes to bed.
11:30 though. That information is not really out there. We keep hearing 10 p.m. kind of deal. Put him to bed. Hear the thump. Are you okay? Good night. 10 p.m.
Right.
But this is what she told a neighbor.
That's right. And when I asked my neighbor, so she told me this Monday. And then when the sheriff's office came by our house to do the same door knocking thing and walking around and whatever, I asked the sheriff, I said, let me ask you a question. And he's like, what's that? And I said, I know early on investigation, they actually were talking to us. Like day 1 and 2, they were talking to us. So they were giving us information. They were telling us kind of what they were going to do and whatever. And then after about a week of it, they just shut down and never would talk again. The day that the TBI came in, that was it. No more discussion. It shut down. We're not talking about it. You're just going to have to be in the dark. So, but this day 2, when the sheriff's office came in, no, I'm sorry, the state troopers came in. Still don't know why state troopers got there. Haven't figured that one out yet. I don't know why state troopers would be there. But state troopers came in. Actually, they came into my driveway because they were rinsing their shoes off. They had gone into the construction area and his boots were all muddy. And so he and my son were rinsing his shoes off. And I looked at him and I said, let me ask you a question. He's like, what's that? And I said, if you'd fallen asleep in the living room and your kid walks out the front door, wouldn't you have heard that? And he was like, not only would I have heard that, but I would have jumped up with my gun in my hand to figure out who's coming in my house.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, like, she falls asleep on the couch and her kid just walks out the door. But then when I asked my neighbor about that again, called her the next day, I'm like, okay, explain this to me. This is what you said. I don't understand that. And she said, oh, well, she woke up and then heard the thump and that kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, it goes with all that in the evening time. At the same time, like you said, no evidence that any neighbors or anyone seen that he actually returned home that day. And then we also have those lights. It's just a mystery in a sense, because those mysteries. Someone asked it. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say those were not trash trucks.
I concur. But why did authorities say it doesn't have any evidentiary value?
I asked that when I called the lead detective, and I flat out told him that I know the neighbor. I've seen the video footage from the very beginning before it was edited. She told me with her own mouth, looking at it herself, there are 2 separate occasions, car, then truck. Why is that? We've had it. He argued with me and told me that he had it broken down. The Secret Service looked at it and they confirmed that in fact it was a trash truck. And I said, I'm telling you, it was not. He said, well, I'm not going to say I argue with you. I was like, okay.
Wow. Somebody said in the chat, any video footage of Katie searching for Sebastian that morning? Like, do they have any, since you have a neighbor that has a Ring camera, did any cameras pick up Katie actually out there searching that morning before?
If she, oh, you mean before all the police got there?
Yeah.
So the neighbor that was leaving to go take her well, actually, the neighbor's camera did pick up her walking around her house.
Really? So she walked around her house?
Yeah, because in the neighbor, if you're looking to her house, the neighbor to the left of them, that the wife came out and was actually looking. There's like a little like a wood door underneath the house. What do you call that underneath the house? The crawl space. They actually opened up that door and were looking in the crawl space together. And so they were looking. But as far as outside of the neighborhood, I've never seen them. And they've never, no, not that I'm aware of. I mean, I asked my kids, and my kids said they had never seen her, never seen him. They did see Seth was out there a couple of times with everybody. He was at the command post. I have a good friend that was there in the command post, and she confirmed that he was at the command post. But I asked her, I said, did you see Katie or Chris or the Bowersox? And she said, no, never saw any of them. But then again, she said, but I mean, law enforcement did ask them to stay home in case he came home or called. So there's that.
Do you think law enforcement exhausted the whole area? Like, do you think they did a thorough search of the entire neighborhood and the streets along Long Hollow Pike and the school? Do you think they?
Oh, yeah. I definitely, I mean, I watched it with my own eyes. They were deep in, they were climbing in the trenches and looking in the sewage areas. And then they had dogs everywhere. They had drones everywhere. The question is, what are they doing with whatever evidence they collected? And what are they doing with the surveillance cameras? Because what I'm told that neighbors saw, they're denying.
They're denying.
Yeah.
Law enforcement is what she's referring to there. All right, guys, that's it for today. I don't know how much more we got on this Bobby interview. it's just, we got too much, and I've got to work on some other stuff today. So we'll finish this up. We'll back it up just a little bit tomorrow, and go, or maybe even later tonight. And, if I can get everything I need to get done wrapped up today. I've got some videos I've got to make. Don't forget, I dropped videos, guys. So if you guys are not watching the videos, I've dropped like 3 yesterday. Please get over there and check them out. I'm going to be doing some other videos today. So I hope everybody's doing well. Don't forget, Sebastian Drake Rogers still lighting it up green. That's a video I need to be starting to work on right now, is the green lights. It's getting close to Thanksgiving. I wanted to have it done by Thanksgiving. So green lights, green lights, green lights. Thank you all for participating in that. It's been a while. We're still trying to advocate for this boy, keep him out there in the ether and in the algorithm, and just trying to keep his name alive. He needs to be found. He's somewhere, and somebody knows something, and we need somebody to step forward and speak up. I also wanted to thank the people in here. Let's see what we got. We got Michelle Vincent gifted Bullhorn Betty membership. It's me, Jen, gifted Bullhorn Betty memberships. We have a D Mystery Obsessed saying hello to BHB and the Coffee Beans. Gypsy became a crazy member of this crazy crew we call the Coffee Club, and so did One Sock Candy. It's nice to see you. And Gypsy also gifted membership. So if you received a gifted membership through the show, please either thank all of them. Gypsy, It's Me, Jen, and Michelle. All right, guys. Thank you. Rock it out with your coffee beans out, and we shall see you in the near future. I'll talk to you later. God bless. From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We've brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you, God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims.